I want to talk to us a little while this evening concerning something that at least bothers me, and it may be a problem with many folks in the church, out of the church, in the world, whatever the case might be. And it's concerned, I guess you might say, a two-letter word or a one-letter word, either I or me. I have a problem with wanting things my way. And I'm satisfied that many people have this same problem or difficulty. I get to thinking many times, how could I make the world better? How could I make the church better? What causes the problems of the world? What causes church problems? And, I am inclined to want to point a finger at someone else. I never want to point it inward. I recall, or I think about this many times today, and of course the big thing is, and I will tell you that in a moment, but I spend a lot of time by myself, and I think about this, and I get to thinking about some of the ignorant, stupid, unwise, unintelligent things that I've done in my life, sinful things also. And I guess if somebody could see me, they would probably recognize that my face even turns red because I'm embarrassed to think about some of the really, really foolish things I've done. But then I get to thinking, well, perhaps I'm still doing those foolish things. Have I learned anything in the past at all? Am I any better today than I was 50, 60 years ago? What caused me to do those things then, and what probably causes me to do things today? And it gets back to this selfishness that I have, this me or I. In Luke chapter 6, verses 41 and 42, we have this account. It's also in Matthew chapter 7. But says, and again, I mentioned a while ago that many times I want to blame problems on others. But in this, it says, "And why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye, but perceivest not the beam that is in thine own eye? Either how canst thou say to thy brother, Brother, let me pull out the mote that is in thine eye, when thou thyself beholdest not the beam that is in thine own eye? Thou hypocrite, cast out first the beam out of thine own eye, and then shalt thou see clearly to pull out the mote, or the mote that is in thy brother's eye." And again, this gets back to what I was saying. So many times we want to correct other people, and we never think about correcting ourselves first. I recall a story, and I probably told this before, but it comes back from a long time ago, I think, and I'm inclined to believe that this celebrity person was maybe something that was said about Tammy Wynette, which some of you older folks will recognize the name. But whatever the case, this statement was said that she went to a psychoanalyst or a psychiatrist and said that people were treating her very badly. And so the psychoanalyst said, well, why are they treating you badly, or something like that? She says, well, I'm depressed all the time. I just don't like people. And he said, well, why don't you try this? Why don't you try being a friendly person? Why don't you try being better and see if that will help your problem? She goes away for, we will say, a month and comes back, and the psychiatrist or her doctor asked her, says, well, are you doing any better? And her answer is no, but the people around me are a whole lot better. And so I think that this is very characteristic of us today. We want others to change, but we don't want to change. We want to see the faults in others, but we're very seldom are willing to admit our own faults. So I guess the moral to this is what can be done to make the world better? What can be done to make the church better? And it comes right back to, I'm going to have to do things myself. I'm going to have to change myself. I need to be what I ought to be before I start pointing the finger at others. Another thought about this comes from Luke chapter 7, beginning in verse 36, a rather lengthy reading, but I think it's appropriate for this particular subject. It says, and one of the Pharisees desired him, that is Jesus, that he would eat with him, and he went into the Pharisee's house and sat down to eat. And behold, a woman in the city, which was a sinner, when she knew that Jesus sat at meat in the Pharisee's house, brought an alabaster box of ointment and stood at his feet, behind him weeping, and began to wash his feet with tears, and did wipe them with the hairs of her head, and kissed his feet, and anointed them with the ointment. Now when the Pharisee which had bidden him saw it, he spake within himself, saying, this man, if he were a prophet, or if he is a prophet, would have known who and what manner of woman this is that toucheth him, for she is a sinner. And Jesus answering said unto him, Simon, I have somewhat to say unto thee. And he saith, Master, say on. There was a certain creditor which had two debtors. The one owed 500 pence, and the other 50. And when they had nothing to pay, he frankly forgave them both. Tell me, therefore, which of them will love him most? Simon answered and said, I suppose that he to whom he forgave most. And he said unto him, Thou hast rightly judged. And he turned to the woman and said unto Simon, Seest thou this woman? I entered into thine house, and thou gavest me no water for my feet, but she hath washed my feet with tears, and wiped them with the hairs of her head. Thou gavest me no kiss, but this woman since the time I came in hath not ceased to kiss my feet. My head with oil thou didst not anoint, but this woman hath anointed my feet with ointment. Wherefore I say unto thee, her sins, which are many, are forgiven. For she loved much, but to whom little is forgiven, the same loveth little. And he said unto her, Thy sins are forgiven. So we find here, and I'm very much inclined to place myself in this, if I look around, I think I've been bountifully blessed. I would say that 99% of you who are in this audience, if you were really truthful, would say, yes, I'm bountifully blessed. How willing are we to pass those blessings along? How willing are we to show the love that Christ showed to us, because he has made all of these things possible for us? And again, many times when we are in discussions or in our own mind thinking about where we're at in our Christianity, who do we compare ourselves with? Do we find some other person that we want to compare ourselves with? Do we say, well, I'm better than they, I don't do some of the things that they do, I practice my Christianity to a greater degree than they do? That's not the point. We are not to compare ourselves with ourselves or with other people. We should be attempting to compare our Christian lives with Jesus, what he did. He went about doing good. We should do the same thing. How do we solve our church problems? We begin with ourselves. And in doing this, we do not try to put blame on somebody else. We do not try to, I guess you might say, get away from the guilt that we should feel, but we should face up to the fact that to make the church better, to make the world better, to make our families better, we must begin with ourselves. With this in mind, perhaps something I have said this evening might cause you to, I guess you might say, what's the word I need to use? Make an improvement in each of our lives. I know that many times I think that myself, that I'm going to change this, I'm going to be better. And many times when we have a sermon up here from the pulpit, I have a response. It is a private response, but I respond in mind that I'm going to attempt to be better.